We're live, right?
Okay, this is the Public Works Committee meeting, Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020 at 2:35 p.m. Present is Councilman Vincent Polizzi, Councilman David Banks, Councilman Adam Yoder, and we have John Sanders, who is the engineer, Josh Warfel is our IT person, and Janice Frank, our city clerk, and me, Bonnie Katz. On the agenda, we have two things on the agenda. Number one is a discussion on the levy. The reason why we want to have a discussion is we don't want to get lost in what's going on in with the levy and where we stand. Also for the public knowledge of what's going on, because this has been a long process and it's going to be a long process before it's finished. And John, you've been doing an excellent job so far, but you're on the floor now.
Sure. So let me see here. Just last week, the Army Corps of Engineers was in town to do their levy inspection. That was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I was trying to get with them, but however, I actually had training on those days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it was pretty intense, so I couldn't be with them. But I did stop by a little bit and talk to them in breaks. But anyway, they inspected the entire levy system. I talked to the guy today, and from the Army Corps, we're looking to have a full report within a couple months. They found two items that were of concern. We're going to meet with them tomorrow on the Lycoming Creek. There's an area of scour of rock protection near to the skate park along where the Lycoming Creek bends. Some washout riprap there. We're going to try to fix that, but they wanted to meet on site to discuss that. And there was also a faulty electrical system at one of the pump stations, but our electrician got there on site and he fixed that. So those are the two items that they pointed out to us that were a little bit concerning to them. So one's dealt with and one we're dealing with tomorrow. Staying on the levy here, the county, Lycoming County, with the help of CEDACOG, just put out an RFP, request for proposal for design services for a large chunk of work, which includes 60 cross pipes, and the levee design and construction of the flood wall along the east bank of Lycoming Creek, which is right behind my house, actually. It's essentially 1,000 feet from Memorial Ave Bridge all the way into it buries itself into High Street. Long story short, you're looking at probably about 2 years of, and now we're getting into the full design and plan, construction and development, and full cost estimate for the project. So that's where the county's at. They also I just spoke to Gaz this morning. They are putting out a relief well bid package this week. That includes Williamsport, South Williamsport, and portions of Lowestoft. There's approximately 40 relief wells to be either rebuilt or replaced. They test them for pressure, and if they can rebuild them, they do, and if they can't, they do a full-on replacement for these relief wells. Another section of the levee that needs repairs is the west side of Lycoming Creek, behind my house on the other side of the bank. This is what I brought to you guys for funding back in March of April this year for the $4 million EDA grant. Now, we've been in contact. I'm on levy calls every other week with Keller, who the county uses to work with us, and we're looking like we're going to get the $4 million from the EDA grant. They've given us the informal nod. They're looking to wait until, they say, October timeframe to give us the formal approval due to politics in the November election. So once we get that, we'll be able to, once we get that EDA grant money, we'll be able to then put out another design package for that side of the Lycoming Creek. So back on August 29th, Mark Maroney did a good story on the levee and some of its required repairs in the Sun Gazette, so it was a good article. That's about all I have for the levee at the moment. Yeah. Any questions?
I'm I'm sorry, I had the mute on. We've been very lucky with no rain, but it could get dangerous right now with the possibility of a drought. But without the rain, there's been no problems with Graffius Run.
Yep.
And with no rain, how has that affected the levee in any way at all? Are we seeing more problems that are, because the river, everything is so low? Are you seeing any problems because of that? I'm just curious.
Not that I know of. I'll know more in about 2 months when I get the formal report, but I would doubt it. I doubt it. Ironically, there was a little bit of high water early this spring in the Cumming Creek, like the only time we had high water, and it actually created this little scour location right by the skate park that I talked about earlier. We're going to fix that in-house. I talked to Adam, we're able to fix that in-house, so that's good with our own streets and parks and flood control folks. But no, other than that, nothing else.
Let me ask you this, John.
Yeah.
With, we've been doing nothing but having engineers and people going after money for the levee.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't really done anything to actually the physical repair of anything yet, have we?
That would be correct. Until this relief well bid package comes out next week, and then whenever that work actually starts, with it being September 20th, or probably, I don't know if they're gonna, I'd have to talk to the county and Wood to see if they would allow construction this winter or if it would go into next spring. I'm not sure. But I'm kind of curious about it myself, if they would do those this fall or wait till next spring. I'd have to ask county and Wood. But yeah, we actually haven't done any physical repairs yet. That's correct.
Well, the thing that's interesting, John, is I really thought those relief wells were supposed to have been started the end of last year and going into the beginning of this year. Now, I know things stopped with COVID,
Yeah,
but we've been sitting on these relief wells for quite a while.
yeah.
And that was supposed to be the first thing that was supposed to be addressed was the relief wells.
And it is, but like you said, we're what I'd say 6 months behind because of I can't give reasons, but I would say COVID. I just came on board with the city right around then, so
I know you're playing catch up with a lot of stuff.
I don't have good answers on exactly why.
I think for the public knowledge, I think the thing that's the most frustrating is we've been literally working on levy, okay, as far as trying to get information, trying to get money, trying to get everything accomplished for the past, I'd say, 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
This is when it first hit us at City Council.
Yeah.
And to realize that it's taken this long to get to where we're at and not even have any physical construction or repairs done is just, to me, very frustrating.
I understand, but look at the magnitude of the projects, I should say. I mean, you're talking about thousands of feet along like Cumming Creek, both East and West Bank. You're talking about coordination with property owners, private ones. You talk about coordination with the Army Corps, coordination with PennDOT, DEP, county conservation districts, utilities out the wazoo. I mean, there's serious utilities in the way that need to be moved. So those things take a lot of. Now, luckily, we actually have these repairs happening either this fall or spring, and we have the go ahead for the rest of the design work upcoming, like I mentioned earlier. So, yeah.
It just, as a citizen, it amazes me how long it takes for these projects, something like this. And I know this is one of the bigger levies in the state that we're dealing with, and the amount of work and trying to get everything coordinated, like you said, is just astronomical. It really is. But like I said, from start to right now day, we're talking 9 years.
I was lucky to have the woman who left the county recently kind of briefed me before she retired, before she left the county.
Fran McJunkin.
Well, actually, I was talking about Chelsea. She was
Chelsea. Oh my gosh, yes.
She was able to show me on Google Earth on my screen all the problems and then show me, where they're at and where all the projected work, et cetera, et cetera. That kind of brought me up to speed so I could get moving on it.
Chelsea was very good with the levy and also with Graphius Run. She did an awful lot of work with Graphius Run also. She started doing that work with the city and then moved to the county.
Yeah.
And we're talking really somebody with well-educated on all the whole process.
Yeah, speaking of Graphius, we're lucky it's been a dry year too for that. I mean, we're really lucky.
Exactly.
Or that'd be a problem we'd be dealing with. I'm meeting with the gentleman this week, me and Derek, in regards to Graphius. It's already money set aside. Bear with me, let me grab the file in my email here. There's set aside money for Graphius repairs. I didn't have it handy, but I do now. I'll find it in a second if you guys can bear with me.
We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, right now there's a $3.5 million line item in the Pennsylvania General Assembly for Lycoming County design, engineering, construction, infrastructure, and other related costs for the flood mitigation project of Graphius Run in the city of Williamsport, $3.5 million. So,
isn't that DEP?
This is in the that's the source, yes. But so now we got
we've been in the pipeline for that for the past year.
Yep, it's there.
And so and this is what is the gentleman's name from DEP? You've been talking to him.
Yeah,
Doug Hill.
Yep, Doug Hill.
And he's the one who has been pushing this for us. And hopefully that comes about sooner than later. But I think you hit it on the head. We've got to wait till after November 3rd.
Because of politics and election. Is that right?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Any questions? Let's see, Dave Banks.
Yeah, just one here, not related to the levy, but to the Graphius Run conversation. They kind of ran together there. John, I was up looking at the inlet for Graphius Run, and I noticed that the Graphius Run's dry right now, but Willowbrook that comes in below the tennis courts there at Cochrane is running pretty freely. And I was wondering if we've ever done any study or having data on where the bulk of the water for these flooding events comes from, if it comes from Willowbrook or if it comes from Graphius, because we may be actually talking about the wrong problem. No,
good question. So Graphius, the main stem comes down Blooming Grove Valley, and then I think you're talking about the other branch that comes by the church.
It goes up along Freedom Road, yeah. and then along Willowbrook Road.
Drainage area is almost I think it's almost a 50-50 split, like 1.5 square miles each. I can tell you that in a second. I'm pretty sure it's almost split down the middle. And I can say that with pretty good certainty right about now, I think.
Yeah, I was just thinking in terms of whatever our mitigation strategy is, it might have a lot to do with Willowbrook as much as it has to do with Graphius.
Could have sworn they were both like 1.5 square miles each, both the main branch and the eastern trib.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to hold everyone up here. It was an interesting kind of observation I ran into when I was out for a run the other day.
Vince, do you have any questions?
No, not at this time. I'm just kind of sitting back listening, and I'm glad that Councilman Banks brought up that point, because we also walk over there a bit, and I'd kind of thought the same thing, that could be a contributing factor that maybe we had not thought of before.
I guess it's something, from what we've gone through in the past, is that there has been discrepancy as far as where Graphius runs splits in so many different areas. And It goes back many years when they did split it. And I don't know whether you would still call some of that split Graffius Run or not.
Yeah, they
No.
really, Dave Banner, not, what's his name? The Bruce Huffman showed me a lot
Yes.
of history of Graffius Run. We looked at old maps together, showed me how it was rerouted in town. But when it sits in town, that's not the problem. The way I look at it, once it's in town, that's not the problem. We need to deal with the water upstream so as to minimize. We need to lessen the amount of flow that's coming into Graffius and the Trib. We need to deal with that upstream because our pumps in town can handle it. It's the combination of too much water and debris clogging the inlets that's the problem. And the solution that I'm going to look to do, work with certain folks on, we're going to deal with both those things at once. Try to fix it once and for all, right the first time.
You're
Not
right,
practically,
John.
we are going to fix it once and for all the first time.
Hey,
Yep.
John, have we ever worked with the like Fish and Wildlife Commission or other agencies to kind of just do a walkthrough of Graffius Run going up alongside of Blooming Grove just to get an idea or examine if there's properties that live along Blooming Grove up above the city limits that might have refuse or undesirable items, whatever it may be, laying along the Graffius Run? Because I know when it floods, we've seen quite an accumulation of tires that end up floating.
Not to my knowledge, I don't know of that. Maybe my previous successors might be able to answer that, but to my knowledge, no, I do not know.
That's never come into play. What has come into play is to talk with the township, and they have gone through talking to the people that live there, and also trying to combat the issue of them throwing any kind of refuse into Graffius Run. We don't have as many problems and as people throwing things in there as we used to have. It used to be a major, major problem because it was coming from Loyalsock. But at this point, because now the township is aware of what's going on and we're keeping in contact with them, then that the problem is it's not altogether gone, but it's not like it was. But as far as Fish and Game, no, that's never come into play. It's been more of a government talking to government and taking care of that issue. And you know, that's as far as it's gone. You're right, John. As far as no problems downtown, as far as water goes from Graffius Run, the major problems downtown is really stormwater with the flooding and stormwater, other than Graffius Run, which is another water problem. You know, but it's more or less coming off of the tip of Blooming Grove where the problem starts and creates problems for the flooded basements and yards and streets. But by the time it reaches downtown, you have a trickle of water.
I have a slew of photos from Bruce Huffman. He lives not too far from you, Bonnie, actually.
Right.
When Graffius gets clogged and overtops, it runs down literally center of the town, north center of the town, and floods entire streets a foot deep. These pictures are pretty impressive.
It's amazing. It's amazing, and how quickly that could happen. And it does happen very quickly. You know, and I think everybody would be happy to come up with some kind of solution of what's going to happen in the end, so we don't have that problem anymore. And you're right, it is a rush of water that comes through. There's got to be something that, you know, most of this problem solving has been always said to have ponding areas, and but there's houses in that area, and there's not enough room for ponding at this point. So, you know, something else is going to have to be done.
Because of the relationship I have with Wood Engineering. I mean, they're a large scale engineering firm who's capable of designing solutions to this problem. So I talked to them about possible solutions. And I know this has been looked at in the past, and I think it probably is one of the best solutions is to build detention basins upstream, just hopefully within town. Because once you get into Loyalsock, and then you're dealing with the city and Loyalsock, and that's not always the funnest thing to do. But to retain the water and slow the flow from getting to the inlets.
Exactly. There were
So-
times over the years to buy some of the properties
Yes.
in order to do that.
One other thing I noticed, John, was there on this Cochran School property, there's
Yeah.
a berm. There's a berm coming off on the east side of the second inlet there.
Okay.
And then there's the berm runs, east to west from that inlet along the tree line there on Cochran School. But
Yeah.
there are inlets on the other side of the berm that led into Willowbrook, where that concrete structure is for Willowbrook. So if anything gets backed up, the water can come back up out on the outside of the berm.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's so the berm, the berm might be kind of a moot point there, because it's, it can back up and then it comes outside, of the flood mitigation.
Yeah.
Or steps that have been taken prior to, this conversation, prior to everything else being done. So what I'm getting at is, you and I had talked a long time ago about, it'd be nice if we could actually get out and walk a little bit of what we're looking at
Yeah.
together
But
and see
there's
this.
really not much. Is there much to see though? I mean, other than that area?
Yeah, that area is the big part, and there are inlet structures all along Grappius running, down,
Yep.
down across Glenwood, where it crosses Elmira. There are inlet
Yep.
structures that you can see. So, I mean, it might be interesting if we could get out, even during a major storm event, and see if what the water's doing in those areas.
No, I agree. I think Bruce invited me to do the exact same thing someday in the event we have a flood, to actually see it in action. I mean, so to speak. Yeah.
When I say we, I mean I include myself in that.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Yeah. No. And
I definitely want to get out and see it.
So would I.
Adam, do you have anything to ask?
Just sitting in the cheap seats on this one. Appreciate the information, everyone.
Gotcha.
I-
don't,
Real quick request that Dave and John, if you guys do plan on doing something like that, let me know. I'd
Okay.
like to join.
Not
Yeah,
to make this an executive session, but I would love to join as well if able.
I would hate to have to wait. It's sad that we're literally trying to wait for a major storm flooding event to try to see the problem. I have tons of photos. I do, and not tons, but I know Adam Winder has even more in that area.
I've tracked it over the years. I have a pretty
Yeah.
good idea where it runs. So,
Yeah.
we could do it dry,
No, I guess you're right. It's best to see it when it's at its worst, so to speak.
it's frightening when you do see it in person, when it is raining and things are starting to, let's say, fall apart.
Yeah,
And your hands are tied. You can't do anything about it.
you literally have a river running down north-south through the center, north central part of the city.
Exactly. John, I want to thank you very much for keeping us updated. Like I said, this is more or less to keep the public aware that we are working on things, even though there was a good article in the paper. It just makes them feel better, and it makes us more in tune to what's going on also. It'll be interesting to see the report from the Army Corps in a couple of months, what they've come up with.
Yeah.
So that should come around, maybe December,
Yeah.
November, December. So I'll
just
be
trying to-
interested to see what they have to say. Obviously, if there was anything major, they would have told you, since they already do with the skate park and the electric problem.
Yeah.
So obviously, there isn't something that's majorly done. They know that we're working on things, that things are in the pipeline to get things finished. So let's just see what they have to say. And there are no more. I think Wood is done with all of their and going through and trying to come up with the scoping and everything, right?
Correct.
Everything is finished in that area.
I know that, and I'm looking at the request for proposals that the county put out, and it's due October 16th to them, and then I would assume they would take a couple weeks to select the firm that's going to do the formal final design shortly thereafter.
Well, shoot us an email if we want to just publicly announce it in Public Works of what's going on, okay?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay?
Yep.
Let's see, other item on the agenda is any related items? Anybody have anything to add to anything here? Obviously not. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much, okay?